We'll start it again because I'd like everything to be in the recording. Just it's helpful to have two. So yeah, go for it with Fatima. Yeah.
So Fatima, did you have a question?
Yeah, is the recording stopped or is it still on?
It's still on, Fatima. Yeah. Is that okay?
No, it's okay. I just wanted to ask a question to Pip about the constellation. I don't understand the the principle of constellation. Does it because what you explained to me, I mean, what I understood is that you were talking about generational trauma. Is that what you were trying to explain to us, that trauma could be picked up from generation?
That is definitely one of the aspects of constellations. Yeah, it's not
the examples that you know. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It will come up a lot. Generational trauma will come up a lot in constellations.
Yeah, I'm listening to. Yeah, because I'm really not clear about the principle of constellation. So I'm just trying to clarify and to understand better what you're.
So one of the what the principle of constellations is complete interconnectedness. So it starts from an understanding that we can't consider ourselves to be operating in or existing in isolation to the many, many, many generations that came before us. So it has at its very center a curiosity about whether any of the elements of how we interact with the world today are have their origins in what our ancestors at any point were going through. And really it comes from an understanding that today everybody who is alive is a survivor, that there's just no arguing with that. We don't necessarily know all of the stories, and we couldn't possibly ever know all of the stories that our ancestors went through, but we know that whatever they came across, they survived at least long enough to bring the next generation into existence, and that has continued and continued and continued until we arrived. So although constellations might sometimes be dealing with the traumas that our ancestors may have gone through, it is also honoring of the survivors that it proves that we are. So it's very much from a place of complete interconnectedness and asking the energetic field to provide us with guidance on how we can understand that better, to be able to clear ourselves of anything that is no longer serving us. Does that help with your question, Fatima?
This is really a hook to sign into the program, because it looks so complicated and so not clear. I mean, yesterday's session was very, very clear to me. The explanations of Helen as to the fact that we project into our parenting skills the fears and the imbalances that we carry ourselves. That was very clear. But today, I mean, I it's almost like voodoo, you know, what you're trying to explain. And it's I mean, it's just not clear. So no, it's not clear, because I don't see this I don't see how our ancestors, our family behaviors can be passed down to us. It's almost like voodoo, and I just don't know how to deal with it, and I don't understand it. But I guess it's a very good hook to enroll into the program to really, you know, have more clarity in this constellation. But it's very, I mean, it's just not clear in my head, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, I think that you're describing something that is not uncommon. So certainly Constellations is almost always something that people have a better appreciation of when they feel it in their bodies rather than understand it with their minds. So I think that doesn't surprise me at all. And given where we are with the time this evening, I'm more than happy for us to catch up on this, Fatima, in a one-to-one, and we can take the time that we need for me to guide you through a constellation, so that we can kind of understand whether you can tune into it. We could try some different models. The thing that I'm just kind of trying to zone in, I guess, to the bit that you might be thinking seems a little bit less easy to understand, because let me just check, because I think that the idea that how our parents parented us impacts on how we parent our children is probably seems like a kind of acceptable principle, right?
Yes, absolutely. That one is clear.
Yeah. So I guess that the bit that seems a little bit odd is that we could identify something that our parents passed on to us, and we could almost kind of hold it in our hands and give it back to our parents and say, this belongs to you, and therefore I'm not carrying it on your behalf. Is that the bit that sounds like a little bit crazy?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the bit. And I'm really interested in knowing more about it, because when you spoke and made the presentation, I can see that, you know, my mother had some character trait that I picked up, and I don't know how it happened. But to me, intellectually, I was like, okay, it's just, you know, she was my mother, she parented me, and of course I picked up some of her stuff. But when you try to explain, you know, it really interests me, because maybe I picked up some of her stuff from what you are trying to explain to me, you know, to us. And I would be really interested in handing it over to her back, you know. You know, but it's just not clear yet, but I'm sure it will be.
And I guess what I'm also hearing as you kind of describe that back to me is that it absolutely feels magical, feels like unbelievably magical, the fact that you can decide that this thing that is really like, it feels like a weight that you're carrying, and
exactly. And you know, just to share what it is. My mother, my mother had a sister, and they never get along. There were only two, and until they died, they never get along. And you know, in my with my sibling, I mean, we are five. We are not two, but we are five. And but I don't get along with one of my sisters. And I'm like, you know, once you said that today, I was like, whoa, maybe I carried on this thing from my mother and her sister to my relationship with my current sister. I get along with everyone, you know, my brothers, the other sister, except this one. And she is, you know, the one that I get along, the one that I have a problem with is the one who had a problem with my mother.
Yeah.
So the minute you started saying that, I was like, oh my God, you know, I ever never heard anything like this. But maybe, you know, there is something here for me to you know, to learn and to give back to my mother, because I certainly want to have a better relationship with her before we, you know, before we pass on, because I don't want this to be passed on to our children.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to absolutely understand what you are trying to explain to me,
Yeah.
you know, to us, but I just, you know, it's just not clear yet.
Yeah. And I think you're without sounding even more kind of crazy, what I'm hearing in your description is that there's a part of you that you're coming into stronger connection with, that is very, very aware of how this works.
Yes.
And that
something is telling me that I really have to work on what you are, you know, explaining. That's why I'm insisting, because it's like, you know, there is something here for me, and I feel it with all my bones and on my soul.
Yeah, that's it. That's the magic, that our bodies go, oh my God, there's this thing that is not mine to hold, and almost like it's coming out of your heart and your body and your bones, because it's ready to fly off and be where it wants to be, where it came from, so that you don't have to have it in your being. And
how do I do that?
Well, honestly, without sounding even more,
course.
without sounding more voodoo, you're already doing it, because I can hear in the way that you're talking that it's already happening. So your realization this evening that has happened as you were listening to me describe my story has kind of touched into your heart, where we are all connected. My experience has touched your experience, and now my letting go is allowing you to imagine letting go of something that you've been holding that was no longer needed for you in this lifetime. My expression of that was not belonging and settling. Your expression of that is not having as close connection with a sibling as you could have in this lifetime. And so honestly, I'd be curious about what happens over the next days, weeks, months with that relationship, because part of your soul or your heart has realized that it's blocked for no reason.
It is totally blocked. Totally blocked. It has something to do with my mother. I am sure of it.
Well,
if
I describe it from a constellations point of view, a possibility is that when we are born into a family system, as little beings, we're incredibly good at very quickly learning what the rules of belonging are. We don't even have to try. This is part of being a pack member. Like, we will instantly be absorbing all of the micro rules that are required to belong, because if we don't do that, there's a risk that we'd get left behind. So very, very quickly we adopt anything that is a way of being, whether it's a behavior, whether it's a thought process, whether it's a reaction, a feeling, a belief system. And we will stay loyal to those if we don't challenge it, we'll stay loyal to those for the rest of our lives, because they kept us alive. They were the reasons that we stayed in that tribe, and that tribe kept us alive. So if there was a rule in your family, Fatima, that said sisters don't talk to each other, it would have been something that subconsciously, subliminally became part of what it meant to belong to your family. Now, as we grow older, obviously, especially in our teenage years, we push the boundaries of those rules of belonging. Some of them fall away because we're brave enough to realize that they're not useful. Some of them are so subtle that we don't even know that they are rules of belonging. Some of them stay with us forever and rule all of our interactions with life, very similar to my breakdown that I have every time my partner puts the washing out upside down. So some of them are kind of dictating whether we will be happy or sad and whether we feel good or bad. Some of them we won't even notice that they are the way that we do things. So if there was a rule of belonging in your family, Fatima, that says sisters don't talk to each other, it's not that surprising that part of you feels like it's obedient to maintain that within your siblings, even though part of your heart knows that that's not the way to live life. Just like my heart knows you don't need to give a shit about the washing. It's like they're kind of different examples of ways that we kind of maintain rules, and we can check in with, is this a rule that is helping me live my best life? Is this a rule that's helping me be happy and feel fulfilled and feel like I'm in flow? Or is it a whirlpool rule that is keeping me entangled and keeping me angry and upset and not happy? So I guess what this conversation is the start of, Fatima, is a very, very important part of your wondering about a way of being within your family that you are potentially starting to realize you could leave with your mother's generation. If we were doing a full constellation this evening, which is what we will have time to do on the main program, what I would do now, Fatima, is I would be setting up, using human representatives, I would be setting up the family system, your family system, and I would be much more interested in what motivated your mum and her sister to begin that process, and if they were most likely being loyal to a previous generation that gave them a rule of being that they were also being loyal to, but they didn't question it because they were closer to the origins of when the rule was started. Whereas you're a generation ahead, which means that your tie to that way of being is weaker, which means you have more opportunity to dissolve it. So I'm not
This
really sure
conversation
that has
is
helped you
absolutely
understand anything more.
fascinating. Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, absolutely fascinating, because something in me is telling me that this is the root cause of my of the challenges that I have with my sister. I mean, you use the word obedience and I just cried. I'm like crying because it's like I have to be obedient to my mother by not obedient to my mother. Strange. And it's really fascinating because I never questioned it until today. So thank you so much for this this opportunity, and thank you so much for having this conversation, because it's fascinating. You know, it's just like a blind spot. I never ever thought that my situation with my sister could have been generational. Never questioned it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm doing it, maybe it's going to open up to freeing the energetic situation between her and me. So thank you. Thank
And
you so much.
I also want to honor the emotion that you're sharing, Fatima, because imagine how difficult it is from the very pure childlike part of us to dare to decide to do something different to what it required to show respect and love and trust to our own mother, the person that brought us into the world and kept us alive. When we find something that we question about that link, it really so often brings the tears, because of how strong that attachment is. So I really want to kind of just honor the fact that these things seem easy, and then they're absolutely not, because they are coming from the core of us and what it meant to survive. So yeah, I know that it's these things can be massive. Yeah.
And thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah, beautiful. You've seen the comment there from Ivana, Pip, and perhaps, you know, we're coming to the last few minutes. If there's any like last quick questions or thoughts people want to share.
Yeah, I love that. Knowing that we have a greater chance to break away. That sums up Constellations. That is it. Knowing that we have a chance to let go of what no longer serves us. Yeah, thank you.
I'm all in.
Oh,
Thanks for that, Bill.
That's really lovely to hear. Yeah. So we'll be here again tomorrow evening. And yeah, we've got an hour together where it's kind of open house, really. Like, let's see what comes up. Let's see what we want to talk about. And I do want to stress, like I said to Fatima, that, you know, you have our details, and we are more than willing to find one-to-one time for anything that people would like to discuss. Doesn't have to be brought to the group sessions.
Beautiful. Yeah, so Jean, I'll message you about that, because I've already sent it out today, because of whatever's happening with your email. You obviously haven't got it, so I'll make sure you get that after this. Thank you, Pip. I think from this you can probably all see why, when I received the guidance to get Pip involved in this program and bring Constellations to it, you can see from this why I got so damn excited, and why last night I was like, oh my God, yeah, Constellations tomorrow, amazing. They are absolutely magical. They are an incredible way to bring it into the river again, a credible way to reveal the whirlpools that we don't even know are there, to reveal the whirlpools to us, to bring them into that love and inclusion, so that the whole system can settle and we stop getting entangled in that stuff that isn't ours to keep being entangled in, and we can be that free flow that we all really love and want. So I'm feeling all emotional about it, because honestly, I mean, Jean, I know I said it to you in our call, this is going to be an amazing program. This is going to be just the most amazing 6-month program. I'm so excited about it. So, and I just want to also acknowledge something that Fatima said, which is actually pivotal to what we're doing here. She said, I don't want to pass it on to my children. Yeah. And that really signifies, when Pip and I were creating and curating our thoughts around this program, one of the key things, and I love the phrase that Pip brought to this, with paradigm shifters. The people who this is for are the paradigm shifters. It's the people like Fatima who just said, I don't want to pass this on. I see this pattern in me. I see this hurt in my behavior or in my words or in my way of being, and I don't want to pass that on. And it's absolutely, that is the key ingredient to this exploration. You've got that in your heart that's saying, no, I think there's a better way. I think there's a different way. I think there's a more loving way. And yeah, just can't wait to begin releasing that into, I mean, it's already begun, like you said, you know, from already these 2 days, this is already beginning in everybody's experience who's been part of this course. So already those benefits will be rippling out, including everything that Fatima's just shared, that will be rippling in all of our systems too. So yeah, so thankful, Pip, for you to be here, to be you, for what you're bringing for us. Yeah, so amazing. And yeah, as Pip said, so happy to talk to people. I've cleared time in my diary tomorrow and Friday. So if people want to talk before the end of early bird on Saturday midnight, then please get those calls booked in. If you know you're a yes, then you can go ahead and get straight booked in now. Like, why not? But if you want to have a call and chat about stuff, either about the program or about anything we've talked about in these 2 days so far, then do that. And yeah, tomorrow is Q&A and bringing threads together, and we will talk at the end about the program more fully as well. So if you want to hear that, you stay for that bit at the end. But if you're not going to be here live for Q&A tomorrow, then just email us, just drop us messages, send us anything that you want us to speak to, that you that you'd like us to, that if you're not going to be able to be there, just tell us. Anything else, Pip, before we close out?
I think that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, and see some of you tomorrow. See some of you in September.
Amazing. Thanks so much, everyone. Lots of love.
Bye.